because you never know what black people could do to you. They know voodoo. She could put spells on you. Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. This is my first attempt at what will probably be about a 10-ish story series about some of the dating disasters I have had. We are going to start the series with a story that I've alluded to a couple times, and as you've seen in the thumbnail, it is about my Mexican boyfriend's racist mother. This took place back in 2012, so it's been a while. I am going to call him Juan. I moved to Georgia in 2011 and I wasn't making ends meet with just one job at the time, so I picked up a second job where I was working at Dollar General in the evenings as a cashier. I was the only Spanish-speaking staff member in the store, so I kind of got to just sit at the register instead of doing other things because I was the one that wouldn't have to run around the store to find assistance. One night while I was at the register, two guys come in. One of them was Juan, and one of them was his friend, his roommate at the time. The two of them went to the back of the store. It turned out they couldn't find what they were looking for, so they came back up to the front of the store, and his friend was trying to ask me in English where he could find this household cleaning product. Now, when I realized that he didn't speak English, I asked him, ¿Hablas español? And then we continued the conversation. I noticed that his friend, Juan, was kind of off on the side. He wasn't making direct eye contact with me, but he would just smile on occasion. And when I walked back to the back of the store with them to try and help them find what it was that they were looking for, he was just very nice. And he was cute. His friend was just kind of like, oh, great, thank you. Let's ring this up and let's get out. At the register, after the guy left, Juan stayed in for like an additional 30 seconds and was asking me about my schedule and things. And so I told him, and he came back a couple nights in a row to see me, to say hi. He brought me some food a couple of times. About 5 or 6 visits in, he eventually asked for my number. And I gave it to him. We began talking in the evenings over the phone, and I got to learn a little bit more about him. He was from, gosh, I want to say this right, and I always get it wrong. It's the country, then you have a state, then you have, I want to say, a municipality, and then you have your city. So he was from Apatzingan, Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. I think. He was 24, I was 23 at the time. He had been in the United States since he was 17 years old, and he was here illegally. He didn't really do anything other than just go to work, keep his head down, keep a clean record, and go to church. Like, he was so low-key. He shared his story with me about coming to the United States. It was really tragic. His father had been to the United States and was able to get lots of really lucrative work when he was there. He just wanted always for Juan to experience that. They had a conversation where Juan said, well, if I'm going to go, I would like it if you could come with me. They hooked up with a coyote, somebody who you pay and they get you to the United States, or they help set up a plan for you to get there. There was a point where they were in the process of running away from immigration. They had to jump off of something. It was a ceiling or a roof of some sort. Juan made the jump successfully. His father did not make the jump successfully. He broke his leg in the process. Juan had to keep running to the next place where he could find shelter. So he had to leave his dad in the middle of the desert screaming in pain because he had a broken leg. Eventually, his father ended up passing away, unfortunately, because of things that had happened after the initial leg break. Before he passed, he spoke to Juan over the phone and told him, whatever happens to me, please make sure that you will always take care of your mom. That was the last conversation that he had with his dad. So it was a pretty traumatizing story, and it comes back around and plays a piece in the way that he behaved with his mom. We continued to get to know each other. After a few weeks, he asked me to be his girlfriend. When we became an official couple, he was super excited to tell his mom. We were in my apartment and he called his mom on the phone. This phone conversation was happening on speaker, so I could hear it all. And she's like, hi son, how are you? Da 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 da. And he goes, Mom, I've got some news for you. I have a girlfriend. She was so excited. There were other people in the background, and so she's saying, Juan dad's got a girlfriend now and everybody's cheering, everybody's happy. So she goes, tell me about this girlfriend. Where did you meet? How is she? Where is she from? When he said that I was from the United States, she got super excited and she's like, oh, that's so wonderful. She's a little güerita, which is like a fair skinned. It's like a white person. He told her, Mom, she's not güerita. She's from the United States, but she's not white. Is she black? And he goes, well, yeah, she is black, Mom. And she hung up that phone quicker than you could blink. He just sat there going, hello, Mom, can you hear me? No response. He thought that maybe they had lost signal, so he tried calling back a couple times and she would send him to voicemail. Within maybe 2 minutes, his grandmother called him, and his grandmother starts out the conversation like, Mijo, your mother is very unwell because of the news that you have given her. If you're happy, that's fine, but you really need to watch out for black people. You never know what black people could do to you. They know voodoo. She could put spells on you. She might be into witchcraft. Like, you just need to be careful and protect yourself and call on the saints and wear your rosary, da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, he's Christian. He's listening to this, but he's very obviously amused by it. So he's like giggling and laughing and stuff like that. And he's like, no, abuela, everything's fine, ha ha, he he. And he hangs up the phone. I was concerned by the way that they were talking about me and black people. He just said, boy, Krista, you have to remember they're from a different time. They're from a different culture. There are things that they'll say that are maybe ignorant, but since we know better, don't pay any attention to what my mom and my abuela are saying. I kind of just said okay and went with it because it was a happy moment for him anyway, but that always stuck in the back of my mind. The relationship in and of itself was okay. It had its ups and downs and rocky moments, mostly because it was my first time dating somebody that only spoke Spanish. I knew how to speak Spanish, but I wasn't practiced in doing it every single day all the time with these Mexican words and regionalisms and all of these other things. It was just all new. And on top of that, he was in the country illegally. So that had its own set of problems and concerns and fears. Generally speaking, we had a lot of learning curves, but we worked through them. My mom fell in love with him. My dad really liked him. He spent holidays with us. I would call my family and they'd be like, when is Juan coming back? He would go to work parties and everyone treated him like he was this adorable puppy. He was just so wonderful. But then his mom came to town. We were almost a year into our relationship, and Juan told me that his mom wanted to come to the United States and visit him. She had a visa, and so she would periodically come and stay with him for like 3 to 6 months at a time. This time she wanted to come and stay for 6 months. Since he couldn't drive, he wasn't able to do a whole lot unless somebody else would take them. So he was like, oh, it would be wonderful if she could do some sightseeing and you could help us and I'll pay for gas and da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm nervous, but I mean, he wanted to make plans to see his mom, so I was involved in those. She arrived here in the United States in Atlanta on a Friday morning, I believe. I was at work at the time. We had agreed that he would just spend Friday with his mom, just reconnecting and chatting it up and letting her get some rest. And then on Saturday, we were going to take her out for lunch. I'm getting ready. I go to his apartment and his mom is there. She's sitting on his bed watching a football game. He brings me over to his mom. He's got me by the hand. Mom, I want to introduce to you my girlfriend. This is Krista. His mom sitting there doesn't get up, which is very odd. In Latin American culture, if you're meeting somebody for the first time, you at least shake hands. You at least do the kiss sometimes, depending on the relationship. And she just sat there. She looks me up and down and then goes, you know, you're about as fat as my daughter is. And I didn't say anything. And she just keeps looking at me and she goes, no, you're actually fatter than her. And Juan says, Mom, don't say that. She's not fat. She has curves, and I like the way she looks. He kisses me and goes, okay, I'm going to go in this bathroom. I'm going to take a shower, get dressed, and then we're going to go eat. And he's left me with this wretched woman. She's watching this soccer game on TV. And I sat down next to her because there was nothing else I could really do except stand in the room awkwardly. So I sat down, and she instantly moves over. I wasn't all up on her either, just didn't want to be near me. She's not making eye contact with me. She's looking straight at the TV screen. I started trying to ask her, how was your flight? And just cordial little questions. And she would answer me very curtly and just looking at the soccer game on the screen. She never looked at me. It was getting to the point where it was really awkward to try and continue having conversation with her. So I stopped and we just sat in silence for, I don't know, like maybe 10 minutes. It was to the point where I was just thinking, I'm gonna go see what Juan's doing. And he comes out of the bathroom and he's like, right, let's go, ready. We get in my car, I drive to the restaurant. It's a Chinese buffet. We go to sit down in the booth. Juan goes to sit next to me and his mom is sitting on the other side. The way that this woman pitched a fit because he wouldn't sit next to her, and she was like, I'm your mom and you're acting like you want nothing to do with me. Why won't you sit next to me? And so eventually he flipped to the other side of the booth. They were having conversations during our meal, and I would try and contribute, and she would kind of brush away the comments that I was making or not address what I was saying. And Juan was trying to incorporate me back into the conversation. At one point during the meal, he had to get up and go to the restroom. So he stands up, he goes to the restroom. His mom doesn't say anything to me to begin with, but then about maybe a minute into the two of us being there, she asks me, do you want kids? I said, well, yeah, I do. In the future, I would love to be a mom. And she then said, well, do you want kids with my son? I responded, well, we've only been together a little less than a year, so that's not something that I'm really putting a whole lot of thought into, but do I want to marry your son? And, would having a family with him be something I would be interested in? Yes. She proceeds to beg me to never have kids with her son. Her reasoning for that was they're just going to grow up confused and unwanted. They're not going to be from one country or the other. They're just going to be mixed up and they won't know who they are. No one's going to want to take them into their culture because they'll be half-breeds and they'll never be fully Mexican. They'll never be fully American. Really consider the selfishness that you both would have to have in order to bring children into that kind of a cruel world. When I look back on my Spanish-speaking abilities, yes, I could speak Spanish fluently back then. But I had such a complex about not speaking Spanish well that there were times that I would just refuse to speak Spanish because I didn't want to do something wrong and have somebody make fun of what I was saying. In an emotionally charged situation, maybe I would sound like an idiot and babbling, like trying to say something back, and then she would just shoot another arrow at me like, you can't even speak Spanish well. So I didn't say anything. The moment her son came around the corner from the bathroom, she, hola, mijo. And she just switched up so quick, and that became a pattern where she would make these little digs and say certain things about me or about Black people when he was out of the room. And when he would come back, she'd just be all smiley like nothing had ever happened. And she asked me one day if I had ever considered using skin lightening cream because that color just didn't look good on me. There was another time where I wore my hair out naturally, and she told me that she knew somebody who knew somebody that could get me some creams to put in my hair so that my hair would look more appealing and it would look like Mexican hair, was what she said. I was the one driving them everywhere. I like driving, I really do. And so I didn't mind because I was experiencing new places and things as well with my boyfriend. But the attitude she had, she never said thank you. She would get in my car, only speak to him. When they got back to his apartment, she would just out of the car, slam the door shut. When I would look in the back of my car, she had like food mess. Like I don't even know where these crumbs came from, but there would be wrappers of all these things in the back of my car. I wasn't even aware that she was eating, so she could have been malicious enough just to like crunch up some stuff and throw it in my car. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past her either. This went on for about 2 weeks, and I got really, really upset and decided to finally tell Juan what was going on behind his back. I was really disappointed when he asked me, are you sure you understood what she said? There's no other way I can take the comments she's making. Yes, I'm sure what she's saying, and I don't understand why you're acting like I'm trying to give your mom problems. Like she's being a jerk. I'll give him credit. He realized I was getting really ramped up by him basically, in my eyes, he was accusing me of lying. And so he said, no, 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 don't worry about it. I'll talk to my mom. I don't know if he ever did, but from then on, he never really left the two of us alone if he could help it for more than just like a couple seconds, if possible. He also asked me to consider forgiving her and just realize that there was a level of ignorance that she was working with, and that maybe we wouldn't be able to change her mind, but we would just have to accept her how she was. For about the next month and a half, I am trying to spend time with my boyfriend, but every single time she creates some sort of emergency, or she would call him nonstop, or the next day she would try and guilt trip him about leaving his mom alone when she had her own little friend group from coming to the United States several times already. But it was always me, the bad black one, taking him away from his mother and ruining their relationship and blah, 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 right? So after about 2 months of this, I was fed to the up. Unfortunately, we got to the point where we were arguing so much because of that tension between his mom and myself. And I remember in one of our conversations, or in one of our arguments, let's be real, he said to me, well, I can't have the two of you not getting along. I can't do that. I want to marry you. I want you to be my wife. I want to live with you. I want to have a family with you. And you have to understand that my mom is going to live with us like that. And I understand culturally speaking, like that's acceptable. But in my head at that point, facing so much nonsense from her, I was like, absolutely not. I am not going to live in a house with somebody who is being outwardly racist, who is telling me that my children are going to be horrible, disgusting human beings that no one's going to want to be around, having her run around the house telling me I'm doing everything wrong because I'm not doing it the Mexican way, or her undoing what I've done because she can do it better. I am not putting myself in that kind of a situation. I cannot do it. You could really tell that he was desperately trying to find ways to please the both of us, and it just wasn't working. He said to me, well, Krista, what do you want me to do? I love the both of you. I can't give one of you up. Something in me at that point just hit a limit. And I said, well, you know what? You don't have to do anything. I will do it. We're done. He tried to beg me to reconsider. He was crying and telling me that he loved me and wanted to continue the relationship and to please think about it. And I was crying and telling him no, that I loved him too, but I couldn't live like this. It was such a telenovela. And it was sad. I really cared about this boy, and I, at the time, wanted a future with him. You could tell that he wanted one with me and that he really cared about me, but this was a hard line for me. So I ended up going no contact with him for a couple of weeks, and I don't know exactly what happened, but 2 weeks later, I get a call from Mexico, and I answer it. It's Juan's mother. So Juan's mother proceeds to tell me that her son is depressed, he's sad, that he's so lovesick and torn up, and he was so upset that he purchased a ticket for her a couple days after I broke up with him. He bought her a ticket and sent her behind back to Mexico because he was so upset with her. And so she's going over how her son is so unwell, and she doesn't want for her son to get sick, because that's a big belief too, is that, one thing will lead to another, and then this person could die of a broken heart, la la la. She tells me all of these things. She's going over them over and over, and then she says to me, would you mind going back out with my son so that he's not sad anymore? I really want him to be well. That was the straw that broke this camel's back. I let her have it. I wasn't nasty, but I said everything that I had been holding in and just word vomited on her. And I said, oh, so you didn't call me to apologize for your behavior, for your racism, for your ignorance, for your stupidity, ma'am. You didn't call me for any of that. You called me because you are seeing the consequences of your actions, of ruining a relationship and how it hurts your son. You want to be relieved of that guilt and of that pain, because this is the last child that you have that still talks to you. And he does it out of obligation because of what he promised his father. And you want me to help you repair that without you giving me any respect or any apology for the way that you treated me and made me feel. So no, I will not date your son again. You can handle the consequences of your actions. You can lose my number. I do not want to speak to you again. And I hung up the phone. I did not hear from her again, thankfully. I did end up seeing Juan a few more times because we tried to reconcile a couple of times, and I ended up having surgery around that time, and he was there, he was supportive. He was just a wonderful person throughout, but that was one point that he just didn't understand that he needed to address. He was a mama's boy, and I realized that because he was a mama's boy, she was always going to come first, and I was never really going to have the respect or the place that I needed to feel validated, to feel defended, to feel loved by my significant other. He was a wonderful person, and I hope that wherever he is, whatever he's doing, he is healthy, wealthy, thriving, married, has a ton of kids, because he deserves all of that. Just not with me. That was a story of my ex's racist mother, y'all. I'm trying to have a moral at the end of every one of these story times, so it's not just me just with some chisme out there. But I would say that the moral of this story would be, respect yourself enough to speak up when somebody is mistreating you. I don't know. I could have done so many different things other than just holding it in and then unleashing on him and getting upset because he wasn't doing anything about it. Hindsight's 2020, but I could have handled it in much more constructive ways. If you're in this kind of situation, say something. Don't just sit there and let people make you feel lesser than, because you are not lesser than for any reason, especially when it comes to just because you've got a different color skin. That's stupid, okay? Have you all had this kind of experience before? Have you dealt with a racist family member when you're in an interracial or an intercultural relationship with somebody? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I'm preparing the next story for y'all, and it is a doozy, so I hope you tune back in next Wednesday for more. As we always say on our channel, with God, all things are possible, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.